All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a Hall of Fame episode of Cliff's Notes. Today, you're going to be shocked. Literally, you're going to meet a young man who was instrumental in the creation of RE/MAX University and has left his mark throughout the real estate industry in his celebration of we're going to celebrate his, what am I trying to say here? Anyway, shocked is what I am because Andrew Schock is on the show today. This guy has got a history of service in his family, to his country, and we are super excited to have Andrew Schock all the way from Sarasota, Florida, right here on Cliff's Notes. Real estate agents, are you struggling with the day-to-day grind, dialing for dollars, putting in hours of floor time with little to show for it? Are you looking for tips, tricks, and tactics to accelerate your career as an agent that will have you closing more homes, working with more clients, and earning more money than ever before? Hi, my name's Cliff Freeman, and I've spent the past 2 decades of my real estate career running one of the top brokerages in DFW and personally coaching over 1,000 high-performing real estate professionals across North America. I created this podcast to share the strategies and tactics you need to explode your real estate business. I guarantee it. Okay, we do this show live. There's no retext takes. There's no BS here. I guess it was when Trelvis told me that the Secret Service was going to be in here and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick was going to be in the studio next door. T, you kind of shook me up there a little bit, man.
My apologies.
But that's all right. We got the boat righted. The ship is back on track now. And I just got to say, C3, by the way, man, I'm super excited. You haven't met Andrew yet.
No.
But I've had the occasion to spend some time with him numerous times in our travels together. This guy struck me as one of the most integrous, respectful gentlemen. I mean, he is the poster child for what you would want to see for a leader in our company, and we're so excited. He's been promoted from the state broker for Florida now to the regional broker for that area.
Right.
And we are super excited to have Andrew on the show with us today. Let's bring him in. Andrew, how are you, sir?
Hey, good afternoon, guys. How's everything going?
Well, it's gonna be a lot better now that I got that crappy intro out of the way. But hey, man, I apologize, and this show is about you anyway. So I am.
Well, it's pretty live over there. I don't got any Secret Service coming into my office or anything, or huddling around my office. So I think you guys are a lot more eventful than I am.
Well, occasionally it happens, but we just today I don't know what's going on, but we are blessed to be able to do the show from Jeff Crilly's studios up here at Lincoln Center in Dallas, Texas, and he's got 8 studios in here, and it's just a first class venue, and so we get a lot of people that, kind of celebrities and that kind of thing come in, including celebrities like yourself, although you couldn't be here for the live show. So we're bringing you in via the V-Link, I think is what it's called, VMix. But anyway, you and I were talking earlier. I just want to go ahead and point out the sign that you have over your left shoulder, rent is due. Man, that kind of says it all. What in the world? That's you were telling us earlier, that's one of your favorite pieces of art. What does it mean to you? What is that sign? What's the meaning in it?
Yeah, so I got involved in real estate at a very young age. I was 16 when I got into the real estate business. I love Monopoly, by the way. I'm kind of a historian when it comes to real estate, and I not only do I love that symbol, and in Monopoly it means go straight to jail, but the symbol that it says is just basically that you have to work hard. You got to drive success. You have to do it every single day in order to achieve your big picture, long-term goals. And it's a constant reminder. The world is tough. It's not always easy, but it's due every single day. You might have successful days. You might have not so successful days. And you find a lot of mayonnaise in the middle. But it's a methodical practice that you put in the work, you do the due diligence, it's due every day, and over time you achieve what your ideology of success is, which is your dream and passions and goals. I call it legacy.
And that is, man, you just nailed it. That really is. And And I mean, you've had some incredible, I know it hasn't been an easy road, but man, you've really cut a path in this business. C3 and I were chatting in the car on the way over here today about the show, Andrew, and it seems like in the last 6 or 7 episodes, we've gone back and again referenced Robert Kiyosaki. I saw him in an interview when he was asked what he felt like the best background and preparation for getting into real estate was. And, you would have thought MBA or something like that. And he said, no, absolutely not. It is the service. I'll take anybody from the service. And the reason why is because that's where you learn commitment and leadership. And I just want to ask you, you have a legacy in your family of service to this country, and you yourself served. What is it that you learned in that time that you were able, what skill set, what mindset that you learned that you were able to transfer to real estate that helped you get to the level that you've reached?
Yeah, first I want to critique you just a little bit. I served as a civilian contractor to the United States government. So,
Okay.
but my grandfather brought my grandma back from Stuttgart, Germany in World War II. He was an air traffic control tower for the Army. My mom is an Army veteran. She's retired. My father's father, of course, my dad did not serve. My brother is a Marine. I got to work with the Army Rangers and Special Forces for the Marines in their sharpshooting division, tactical shooting division. I got to grow up in the military in the surrounds, obviously from the family. And in that, I learned a lot. It wasn't until I was about 15 or so that it really took a new formation. So I did a lot of training at the Toledo airport for the Marines during their pre-boot camps and things like that. That I really got involved. But I was born with a disability. I was born with the umbilical cord wrapped around my throat, born dead. So the service wouldn't take me. So we had to find alternative ways to the end result, which is serve the country. So I did that for the foreseeable 4 years. It was actually 4.5 years. Right out of high school, 18 and a half years old, got right in and started doing the things while I was paralleling my real estate career in the vertical direction up in the real estate industry. So, but so much history. I mean, I have 6 cousins that are in the military, some retired. My one cousin married the highest ranking female officer of the United States Air Force. She's triple retired, Deb Schock. That was married to Justin served, Leslie served. We just a whole family is just militarily engraved in our country.
So tell us about real estate. Has real estate been historically an area where your family has been involved, or what was that? What is it that drew you into this business?
Yeah, so we talked about this a couple days ago, Cliff. We're actually a small town service tree business company called Shock's Tree Service. My dad started the company 2 years before I was born, and we went to work in the tree business. My dad was also a full-time firefighter. My grandpa was the chief of fire after he retired from the military. We went into this tree business, and we created our mark on the town, which is Sylvania, which, all the legacy of Sylvania, Ohio is etched in SHOCK, which is my last name, which is cool. But in 1998, we had fulfilled our prophecy in the tree business, and we sold out to a company out of Pennsylvania called Penline for one of the largest sales of a tree business in Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan ever. It was because of our maintained service, our dedication to our clients, our promise, our word was our bond. I remember when I was such a kid. So I started with my dad when I was 6 years old, just to hang out with my dad. It wasn't going to work. But I'd get in the bucket truck or the 1-ton or his F-150. Chevy 1500. And we'd go to work. And it was just to hang out with him because I was a big athlete and we could do anything. And, that son-father bond that you have is, my dad was a workaholic, and we worked on Saturdays and Sundays because our word was our bond, and the only thing we had was our word. So we had to serve our clients, and we had to get their trees trimmed, their yard cleaned up, whatever it was. And when we sold in 1998, my dad looked at me and goes, "Well, son, what do you want to do with this?" By the way, I told you this story, but I want to tell this story. I used to save money in my dad's safe of like 5 and 10s. You think 5 and 10s, right? $50 and $100 bills. So I could drive down to Food Town on my bike to buy Snapple. That was one of my highlights as a kid, to go buy Snapple from Food Town. But yeah, I saved a lot of money. I was very financially mature at a very young age. We did all of our accounting when I started about I was 9 years old, 9 or 10 years old. I did our invoices and things from the family business, and we sent them out, and we collected that. And it was all in a spreadsheet, which, remember, this is like 1993 MS-DOS. So it's like click, 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 delete 7 times, click, click, click. Oh, there's a 5. Whoop, correct that. You're doing like calculator math, which I just wanted to show you this. I still to this day have my calculator.
The 10 key. Yes. Oh yeah.
So,
you were probably, were you using VisiCalc? Is that the program? Do you remember the account?
It's the original Intuit.
Okay.
That was not owned by QuickBooks. And it was a really old accounting. I mean, so archaic, you wouldn't believe it.
So you got. Let me just check in here with you, Andrew. So this DNA, this entrepreneurial DNA, is something you got imprinted upon you at a very early age. Most kids, when they're growing up, they grow up in a family where the parents have traditional jobs. It's not like, everybody grows up with their parents owning a business. Did you decide at some point that you just were unemployable and you had to go out and create and build and do things on your own? I mean, you've done some really incredible entrepreneurial type things with Dave Liniger and some other things. And I want to talk about those in a minute here, but what is it that, I guess what I'm asking here is, was there just a zero moment of truth or something where you just said, I'm different. I'm not going to go the traditional road that a lot of people take?
Nope. It's if I'm honest, it's everything that I only knew. I only know what I do, and I do what I know, and that's all I do, and that's all I know. It's the only education I had, which was hands-on, labor intensive, work hard, earn. I didn't know what the real world was. I didn't even have any idea. I was so isolated, and it was about providing, food for our family and taking care of the customers that we served and the clients that we put our word on. At what point did I have that pivotal moment? I think it was in 1998 when we were sitting after we sold the company. Oh, I don't know how old I was. What was I? It would have been 15, 16. 15, I guess. So, because that's right when I got into real estate, I was like, well, what do I do now? Like, go to college? Like, I've always been entrepreneurial spirit. I've always been legalese minded. I kind of grew up wanting to be an attorney if sports wasn't the outlet, which it wasn't because I wrecked Malibu when I was a kid. It was going down a path that I could fulfill the ultimate satisfaction to serve clients at the highest level and be the absolute best that I could be to serve them at the absolute highest level. And it was just a different genre of clienteles that I moved from cutting down trees to the real estate business and getting the clients their dream home, the biggest investment that they've ever purchased in their entire life. Their hopes, dreams, and everything, aspirations that they've ever worked their entire life for. It seemed like it was fun. That was it. Like, that was so cool at that time. Now remember, that's 100 years ago, right? And I'm like, looking back at it, I'm like, why did I ever become a real estate broker? Yeah. But I got in the real estate business and got my real estate license. I built a trust before I was 18 years old. and did all the legal ease paperwork and things. Real Smart Real Estate and A-Shock Enterprises, and bought some homes. We started investing in homes, flipping, fixing and flipping. Literally within a year, I was training and teaching it by people that were just driving down the road that just stopped in while I was hanging it upside down from a ceiling fan, trying to figure out how to put it, put a nut or a bolt in the ceiling fan in the ceiling. And I'd love to tell you that I'm making this up, but that's a true story. Like, it was just, somebody had to do it. And I was probably the lightest at the time.
Wow.
And then I went sophomore year, I got my real estate license. I went to school at Stotzenberger. Went through all the, and by the way, I'm a shirt and tie, suit and tie at this time. And sophomore in high school, with a cell phone. Like, that's wildest to think about, but it's true. Got in trouble for picking up a phone call for my secretary at the time, assistant at the time. Christy called me. So I had to report to the principal's office, and, he didn't like, his name was Mark Basilius. He didn't like the answer that I gave him. And I got all the way and approved by the Ohio Department of Commerce to sit for my real estate test. And I went to 5555 Airport Highway, big brick building, to sit for my test. And the administrator that was hosting the test, that gave me approval, asked for my driver's license. And it was before the change of the license from a vertical to a horizontal. And she copied it, and she looked at me. Again, I'm suit and tie, right? She says, "Sir, how old are you?" And I honestly can remember it to this day. I said, "Ma'am, that's not a question that you're allowed to ask me." And I said it very respectfully. And she said, take a seat, walk, did a couple things, and they didn't let me sit for the test. So I had to sit out of real estate for 2 years till I got, well, here's how that went. They told me that I had to get a GED, and I didn't know what a GED was. So I said, well, how can I get that between now and then 7 minutes from now when I sit for the test? I honestly thought I was going to have to write another check. And so, yeah, it was wild. And I found out later that I would have to drop out of high school and get the GED and go through these curriculums and things like that. So I chose the latter and graduated, high school, and obviously I graduated college, and things of that nature. But yeah, I had to sit for real estate with a license for 2 years. And so we made an agreement with my father, Dave, and, I worked for him, continued the Real Smart Real Estate venture, which is buying and selling homes. I was very intimate with contracts. So I knew contracts like the back of my hand about 3 months after I started real estate. Like, I'm one of them quick studies, but I really learned the nuances of the contingencies on the real estate contract, how many line items, what they mean, exactly the ins and outs of the real estate contracts, what every new contract that the state posed. Like, I had some sort of a red line on how we can make that better. And that was pretty much right out of school, like right out of getting my license.
Wow.
But I ultimately knew that in order to serve my clients to the best of my abilities, I had to be the absolute best of my game.
Well, obviously you figured out how to be the best at your game. Will you walk us through a little bit of the history that you were sharing with, kind of started to get into here about you actually helped develop the curriculum, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah.
for RE/MAX University?
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So I was on stage. It was 2006. I was on stage. I was doing real estate investing seminars, and I was just hired by the next person that had some money that, connected with my assistant that says, "Hey, we want this guy on stage to teach real estate investing." At the time, a lot of these things that we know now as like motivational speakers and real estate seminars, I mean, Zig Ziglar was the it at the time, but they really hadn't really developed fundamental practices on how to invest in real estate. And so I created this concept that was called the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s of investing in real estate. Back to the basics and keep it simple. So I would go on, I kind of rolled it out, my local market. And then I got picked up by a couple additional uh, folks that were out of town. Next thing you know, I'm like regional. And next thing you know, I'm kind of on stage everywhere. And we were down in South Carolina, I believe it was South Carolina, and doing a seminar. And Rob Campbell, he's actually with our EXP, and he recognized me. And next thing you know, this is 2006, of course, we're getting in conversation about Dave Liniger and Gal at Remax, owners of Remax. And I said, yeah, I don't know who these people are, but yeah, sure. Why don't you set it up with my assistant, and I'll be happy to have a conversation with them. And so we talked, and it started working out, and we started fundamentally creating the operational procedures of what we commonly known today as, Remax Remax International's Remax training programs. By the way, it was not called Remax University at the time. It was just like, we're throwing a bunch of hot spaghetti at the wall and seeing what stick. And I mean, it was just about, truthfully, most of the time, it wasn't even about the content. It was about the presenter and how the presenter delivered the content information. And then we bundled it. I mean, all this technology is amazing. I mean, artificial intelligence is the wave of the future for real estate. It's so incredible. And that's a conversation for a different day. But like, we're talking like notepads, pencils, like just jotting things down, and like, how do we duplicate it? How do it goes back in the BlackBerry, and before that the Palm One, and how can we get something recorded to duplicate, and then we put it like on what's known as Presenter, which is not. It was absorbed by Microsoft long after it was Presenter, but it was called Presenter Tool, and it's currently known as PowerPoint. But it was like Presenter Tool, and it's not consumer or user friendly, but you get slides out of it. And that was our first creation of presenting. And we would go on stage and we'd present, and they'd give us a huge introduction, and then we're rolling it out. And then we created content deliverables and measurables for new agents, and all of that stuff was so incredibly mind-blowing at the time that it was like, wow, this is the next thing.
Yeah.
Build a relationship with them, and kept going. And I'm an operational procedure minded individual, so it was like one thing led to the next, which led to the next. Still had the home business going on, and I'm on the road 26 to 32 weeks out of the year.
Wow. Well, let's fast forward a little bit here and take our audience to today. I mean, we just got back from Orlando, shareholders and Glenn and the leadership team dropped some huge bombs on AI and other things that we're getting involved in, Luna and the LEAD program. Talk to the audience a little bit, if you would, Andrew, about how now, going from what you were working on back then, what are the kind of things that you're seeing on your desk that are going to be making big changes in how real estate's done in the future?
Yeah, so I'm going to just say use artificial intelligence video. I mean, wow. I mean, video. I don't really want to like name drop the platforms and the vendors because there's so many of them out there. But I mean, some of the platforms that are out there for artificial intelligence to repurpose, resurface, regenerate. You take one video and you create 28 different types of video, and it's deliverable 28 different presentation modes, which creates 49 videos out of one video, and you only recorded for 3 minutes and 15 seconds.
I need to know about this. How about you?
I've been aware about it. Trying to get you. We're gonna get some work done with Phil when he comes into town and stuff like that.
Oh, that's after you program my VCR for me?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's pretty exciting, Andrew. I mean, that's,
But like the whole different, like just talking about like marketing material, land descriptions, property descriptions. Yes. I mean, you can put a genre of information into to the bot, and you can repurpose it, and then 3 seconds later it spits out a whole new property description, And if you don't like it, you can repurpose it again, and it gives you 3 or 4 different other ones. And you can do that 27 more times in 5 seconds. Derivative is probably more like 5 minutes, but.
So artificial intelligence is the buzzword, but the applications that we're seeing really are incredible. And you were mentioning things on the listing side. EXP just rolled out Luna, which, if I understand it correctly, is going to help our agents with support. And it'll essentially take the place of having to track somebody down to ask them a question, because it'll be a knowledge base, but it will be able to almost think like a human and respond in sort of, human terms. I haven't had a chance to take a look at it yet. Do you have a sneak preview? Have you seen it? Do you know what it's all about?
Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. So we fed it a bunch of information, content measurable, like data, basically on the ICA, PMP, algorithms of what's going on in the industry, market, like general practicing terminologies, right? But as it's used, it learns. So it grows, right? The content you put in is kind of the content it spits out, and it grows. So as it gets more use, it gets more familiar with different concepts. So I'm going to call it the beta Luna, which Seth Seeger and Glenn and a lot of the other staff really worked diligently for a great amount of time putting that together, and it turned out to be a great product from inception. I'm going to call it from its inception being a beta test. But it allows the service to be on demand and able to respond with general questions that you have about something. If you have a question about your ICA, it has the exact answer as it's described to the artificial intelligence as a response. If you have a question about revenue share, specifically your own revenue share, you can get data based on from your MyEXP account from the AI technology Luna. If you have specific questions to, content, what is the market looking like in X market, Colorado, Florida. It's not going to be exact. Okay, you always want to reference the artificial intelligence, and I wanted to make a disclaimer there, just before we went to this. It's not perfect, and it's not going to replace human relationship building and tactics and knowledge. It's going to be an ancillary tool that's going to help streamline process, timing, and response to be instantaneous. But with that being said, you're able to get real life data, market presence from a lot of these things, including some generic information, even from Luna. It just depends on what we've already put into it.
That's fascinating.
But where it grows to is, beyond measurables.
Oh, I know. It's like, this is the scary thing. We don't know where it leads, right? it is. And some people are saying it could be used for maybe not such great things. But the reality is that these are huge time savers and efficiencies and money cost savings, because you don't have to hire people to fill those places and that type of thing. What else was it, Andrew, when we ran into you at shareholders? What else was it that got you excited that was announced at shareholders?
Yeah, so I think that it's going to, we're expanding the concept of the EXPCon to the one major event, major functional event, and I think that we're as a company going to focus such a high level at pouring into our agents in the regional locations now, the subsidiary to the EXPCon, so that we can get hyper-local boots on the ground in their hyper-local regions, so that we can promote from hyper-local focus markets. So the regional rally is one, and then the focus that corporate is going to be putting on EXPCon, because we have the one major pinnacle event each and every year.
So the regionals, those for the first time last year is when those got rolled out, or was it? Yeah, it was last
earlier
year.
This year.
Yeah,
earlier this year.
This year. I'm sorry. Yeah. The one in Dallas was big. I went over. It was actually in Fort Worth and was a huge success. I mean, I think a lot of people were surprised by how successful these regional events are. Why do you think that is?
I think it's because you're bringing people together in the hyper local marketplaces that are familiar with each other. And they're going to say, I'm just going to use this for an example. Cliff and Cliff Jr. are going to be there. I got to be there. And it's, it's right up the road. And I got the day, and let's go see what it's all about. Let's see what we can do. And then we bring content deliverables. Like we had icon speakers. We had team lead speakers. We had agents that are the hosts. And then we had segments by leadership to actually bring content from the company to the regionals. I think the whole dynamic is how the build out was around the regionals. There's so much hysteria for that in real life experience, hyper local, where we can drive to it and not have to fly, get airfare, get hotel, do the wining and dining. That becomes expensive, right? Where if we drive to it, it could be a day trip. And oh my goodness, look what's going on now, right? And we're able to deliver it on demand almost.
Yeah. No, and I think it's a super smart thing. We're able to give recognition. The company is big enough now, it's difficult to read, 30,000 names off. It's kind of like going to a high school graduation where you have, 10,000 people. But on a regional level, we can get recognition to those people who earned it. Recognition is so important in this industry. It's not just about the money. I mean, men die for it and babies cry for it. Recognition is so, so important. So I was initially a little skeptical, just to be transparent here, about how these would work. But after I really understood how we were transferring really the energy to the agents instead of having it, like at one, like you said, on the other end of the spectrum is EXP.
Two pinnacle events.
Yeah, but you got to have both. You got to have that pinnacle event, and then you also got to have strength at the grassroots level. So I'm a believer, and actually am really grateful for Jay Nelson was the one who really kind of lit the fuse for that. It is it's really been a great move, I think, on the company's part to follow that path. Was there anything else about shareholders, Andrew, that really got you excited?
I love pouring into the agents. One of my things, I came into the industry being the most agent-centric broker on the planet. I love people. I love building their careers. I love building their lives. I love seeing them smile. The shareholders event was one of the most engaging events that EXP has ever had. And to see so many agents take so much away from it and take content deliverables and put it back into their market, change their ideology, change their mindset, change their focus, and almost forget about a shifting market. Mm-hmm. I think that so much came away from that shareholders event that we have so much momentum moving into the next quadrant of where we're at in the real estate industry. It's truly amazing. I mean, we said it in 2019, we said it in 2020, we were built for this. We were built for the community. We were built for collaboration. We were built for exactly what the shareholders event turned up to be, which is a pinnacle success. Mm-hmm. And we're not built for this. We're built for anything. And I am so excited because, I love Glenn's vision. I mean, I tell him that all the time. He kind of grins at me and I just think we have a fun working relationship. And I say, thank you. And I say thank you. And I feel like a weirdo saying it, to him all the time. But, I loved his vision because it was the same vision I had in 2004 to revolutionize the real estate industry. How do you do that? And we're doing it with a revolutionary company. And we're taking it all the way up. We're going to the moon, I think Dave Quinord a couple years ago coined this phrase, but when you're, get the opportunity to get on a rocket ship, you don't ask questions, you just buckle up. And we've taken it from there from 2018 to, 2023, where we're at today. And, we're just getting started, and that's what jazzes me up. And the ability to change so many people's lives and so many people that we don't even know's lives, and change their, their futures, their generational wealth, their legacy. I can go on and on. I mean, I'm starting to perspirate, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm getting so excited.
You know what? I mean, sometimes I think we don't stop and acknowledge how many lives have been changed, how many agents have paid off their parents' mortgages or put their kids into private school or paid for their college. It really is fascinating, for the right people, for the people that get over here and are committed and really are driven to help other people and driven by succeeding and living a full life. I mean, this place, I always said, EXP was built by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. And it really is, I can't think of another use of leverage that you could ever get your head wrapped around that could deliver such an impact on people. And it's simply because somebody, named Glenn Sanford had a vision in 2008. And I don't know how many people that are watching right now really know the whole story, but Andrew, you and I and C3 know it took 8 years for him, really to be heard. And it wasn't until 2015, I guess, or 2016, that,
Yep.
all of the stars lined up, all of the iterations and the things that Glenn had to do, to get the company. And the great news is he did it all without having to raise, go do equity raises and take on a bunch of debt. I mean, this company is still agent owned, and it's just amazing the difference that it makes when you have the money and the shares in the hands of the right people. The decisions that are made are better long-term decisions than for the sake of quarterly profits. And even though we were the only that I know of publicly traded real estate company that made money in Q1 of 2023 by far. And we talked about this, we made a million, million and a half Q1 of this year, $1.5 million. And, companies like Anywhere were losing, and Compass were losing hundreds of millions of dollars. I mean, that is such a, to me, coming from, a capital markets background, that is just such an amazing feat that this model could be that powerful in another, down market like we're having right now. And let's face it, 7% interest rates, that's a down market. I don't care what you say about it. I don't care if prices are holding. It's an inventory issue. And, we could be seriously facing a real estate recession here. If the regional banks go out, there won't be any money to lend for development. I mean, there could be some really difficult times ahead. And that's when this company was conceived. That was in 2008, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that any sort of adverse market, there is more opportunity than anything else in an adverse market than in a successful or productive or, up market, so to speak. I think the opportunity is by achieving through hardship, difficulty. It's an opportunity to thrive and strive. So I think that it's 80% of the game is half mental, but it's what you put into it is what you'll get out of it with no expectation of return. The more you put into it, the more you do it. And this is old Yogi Berra quote, but 90% of the game is half mental, which just means that you have to put 45% physical activity into it, which is the definition. It's about really focusing on the opportunities that you have in front of you to change your trajectory, and keeping a positive mindset and focusing on the things that you have the ability to. I love Glenn Sanford. He's an amazing mastermind. He's a brainchild in himself. It's so incredible. But he's selfless, and that's one of the reasons why we're here today. That's one of the reasons why EXP is taking on real estate global domination, and will continue for the foreseeable ever future. Because we've turned the model upside down, and it's agent focused. It's about the agent building their business on our platform and taking their business to the next level to create generational wealth for their families.
Yeah.
And with that model itself, I mean, I took it back to the Explore Guide. You know when that Explore Guide was created? 2010. You know how much it's changed? Not
much.
Yeah.
Not much at all. I mean, I'm going to call it clerical changes, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, the fundamentals are the same. Yeah, they sure are.
And when it works, you got exponential growth in the opportunity.
Yeah. Andrew, I don't know if I ever told you this, but we've got a large group of agents in Florida, in Orlando and Melbourne and Miami, and love the state. And I just got to tell you, every one of them that I've talked with about you has had nothing but glowing things to say. They have more respect for you, more love for you. How in the world do you get that?
Hard hat, orange vest, and steel toe boots every single day. I'm a trench worker right there with them. I want to be able to build a legacy for them and with them, right alongside them. And there's no one individual that's bigger than the team that I created in Florida. We did it all for the same reason. I know that's a Three Musketeers thing, but that's what I came in with. And we build guardrails and processes and procedures that allowed us to serve the agent at the highest level. But my phone is on. It works. I answer it. I serve them, make them happy, and duplicate it 9,000 times. When I left the position, it was 7,400 times. And I love what I do. I love changing people's lives. And I have the aspiration, knowledge, experience to do so. And I don't hide from the opportunity to help somebody wherever they're at in their life. And I believe you can come from the depths of macaroni and cheeses and hot dogs from Shock's Tree Service early on when I was 5 and 6 years old to anywhere you want to go in the world. I think it takes perseverance, determination, and an unwavering willingness to perform for whatever your goal is. And I just want to support that.
Yeah.
And I love each and every one of them too. I mean, I think anyone that you're speaking of, you don't have to name specifics. I can probably tell you that, we've had a lot of conversation, and, I love them just as much as they say that they love me.
Yeah.
And that goes for 88,000 agents and every one of our staff members. I said at the Tuesday at our staff meeting, we had an all staff meeting on Tuesday. And I specifically said, if no one has told you yet today, I want to be the first, that I absolutely stink and love you. And I appreciate everything that you do for EXPR agents and our staff. Thank you. That's how I opened the staff meeting on Tuesday. This past Tuesday.
And they know you're sincere. No question.
Well,
rent is due, baby.
That's it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Man, Andrew, I've got a question for you.
Sure.
You pour into others on a consistent basis, week after week, day after day. Who do you look up to, or who pours into you? How do you get your cup filled? Because you're filling everyone else's cup. What are some of the ways, or who are some of the people that you look up to get poured into?
That's a tough question. The Almighty Jesus Christ.
Amen.
I look up to my father. I look up to my relatives. My grandfather that worked 5 jobs to provide for. Ended up 5 kids. Went through the military. Brought my grandma home from Stuttgart, Germany. Didn't have the opportunity to live in a life that I get to live in, as much or as little as it is. I'm not materially driven, so I don't care about the Bentleys and all the big yachts and stuff like that. I care about humans, emotions, and relationships. I'm the ultimate relationship builder. So I don't need much. I live by the 80-20 rule. I talked about the 80-20 rule. It's about 80% of what I pour out with very little expectation in return. And over time, seeing people take the path that I've laid out for them, or we've worked towards their success, ultimately gives me my gratification. And it's not instant gratification because it's hard. it takes a lot of duration. Whether duration is time, duration is experience, duration is dirt, it takes a lot of duration. And so I'm not here for quick hits. I'm not here for lottery winners. I'm not here for one-hit wonders. I'm here for legacy, long term, and creating life that you truly earn and you deserve. And them are the people that I'm the closest with. And then I kind of back it down from there, you know. I'd do anything for anybody. Give my shirt off the back. I mean, I think this is a $200 jacket. I'm just as good in the gym with a cutoff.
I've heard
Please
you
edit
say
that out. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Yeah. Andrew, I've heard you say, I think at least 3 times, that giving without the expectation of getting anything back. You know, it was Tony Robbins who said the pinnacle of life is when you can give without the expectation of getting anything back. And when I look at you, that's what I think of. Man, you're one of my heroes. And I'm so grateful to be on the same side of the field with you. And I'm here with you, and we're here with you as well in the trenches every day ourselves. So just very grateful to have you as a business partner and a friend.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I just want to make mention, you know, life hasn't always been this way. I mean, what you see in me today isn't just like instant carnation, right? I mean, it's time, tried, true, tribulations, a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, a lot of stuff. But it's all of them experience that allow me to do what I do every day, to pour into the people that I pour into, to change their lives. Because I give my experiences like I give people give shirts off their backs.
Yeah.
And my experiences, I allow to learn from my failures so that they can fail fast, fail forward, and grow quickly.
Love it. Andrew, would you commit to coming back in about maybe 6 months for a checkup from the neck up and give us a progress report on how your vision is going?
Absolutely. Don't expect me to wear a cutoff, okay?
Not at all. Not
no,
at all.
I'm just teasing.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. I mean, I can honestly say thank you so much for having me on the show today, and thanks for all the time. We went down a lot of tunnels that I wasn't expecting to go down, honestly. So I appreciate that as well.
Well, listen, you're open and you're honest, humble, and you're still hungry, and you're smart as a whip. So we respect you and we love you, and we definitely want to have you back on. I can't wait till the next time we get to break bread together again, maybe in Vegas at EXPCon, hopefully sooner.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what this
Look forward
show's
to
all
it as
about.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here to see Andrew today. Was that killer or what, man?
Man,
My
I'm gonna have
heart
to go
is,
back and watch that
I
again.
am telling you.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a great guy. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are so grateful to have you here with us today, because if it wasn't for you, there would be no need for us. So thank you. We feel purpose and love. And speaking of love, we're going to say much love from Lincoln Center here in Dallas, Texas. We will catch you next week. Be back here, same time, same station on Cliff's Notes.
So tune in every Thursday where we'll give you the tips, tricks, and tactics to explode your business. I am